Breaking now at 11, this is video of the chaos in the streets of West Palm Beach this evening. Protesters clash with police along Clematis as emergency curfews have gone into effect. Thanks for joining us, everyone. These are just some of the scenes across South Florida this evening. 9 o'clock curfews over in Miami now being broken. Clashes with cops and tear gas being used. And over in Fort Lauderdale, the protests there, they were met by police carrying riot shields. Over in West Palm Beach today, we've been telling you the marches, they have been mostly peaceful, but the protesters, they did stop traffic on I-95 for a short time, and some actually marched all the way over the bridge to the president's winter home in Mar-a-Lago, where they were met by a strong police presence. We have live team coverage tonight from across the city. We'll catch up with Stephanie Valderrama in a moment along Clematis Street, but let's head out to CBS 12's Jay O'Brien. He's near the outlet malls of the Palm Beaches, just off Palm Beach Lakes near I-95, where a growing number of protesters and police have gathered. Jay?
Jim, the protesters are starting to dissipate. So are the police. That's what we came upon when we came here. But we did find this, a smashed in window at the Target on Palm Beach Lakes across from the outlets. And then this, which seems to be right in the position of the window, this massive rock here. We have seen protesters and police start to leave this area, but the police appear to be perhaps redeploying to other areas. They're certainly moving with speed. There are a number of places in the city of West Palm Beach and outwards that have experienced protests tonight, as I'm sure you've mentioned. That includes where we were earlier, Palm Beach Island, where a group of protesters, about 30 to 50, walked up Ocean Boulevard, that iconic street on the island with mansions, headed towards, presumably, Donald Trump's mansion, Mar-a-Lago, at the southern tip of the island. As the protesters approached the southern tip, as they approached Mar-a-Lago, they were met with sheriff's deputies with riot shields who told them to disperse. Eventually, at some point, that collection of people was deemed an unlawful assembly, which means they had to dissipate. Protesters were boxed in on the street, police on both sides in front of them and to their right. As police began to inch in and declare that protest an unlawful assembly, the protesters began to leave. We can tell you, because we were there for some time, in regards to the protests that we saw on Palm Beach Island, they were completely peaceful. We have not come across a protester yet, just my cameraman and I, that was violent, Jim.
Jay, do you get a sense that any of these protesters are concerned that they're breaking that curfew? I mean, that's potentially they could be arrested for that. Isn't that true?
Well, as you mentioned, right, there is a curfew on Palm Beach Island newly in effect starting at 10 p.m. When the protesters were there, they were still under that curfew. It was around 8 or 9 o'clock. However, I did see, and we all did, that the protesters started to dissipate when their assembly was deemed an unlawful assembly. As we've seen across Florida and the nation, when these gatherings are deemed unlawful and the police start to move in to break them up, that is the flashpoint at which they could become violent. And in this instance, the protesters dissipated and said that they would be back. Jim.
All right, that's our Jay O'Brien joining us live. Thanks, Jay. Well, meantime, parts of downtown West Palm Beach, some protesters there were actually met with rubber bullets by police. CBS 12's Stephanie Valderrama is on the scene. They're just off Clematis Street. What's happening there, Stephanie?
Jim, things got pretty chaotic here on Clematis Street after that curfew went into effect at 9 p.m. One of the restaurant workers actually tells me he recovered this can of tear gas that was thrown at them. That caused people to take off running in this area, leaving behind damage on the storefronts of many of the buildings here. Check out this video that was sent to us of those events as they unfolded. Another person who works down here gave that video to us. They say the protesting was peaceful and everything was fine up until that curfew was called. That's when they tell us police showed up, announced the curfew, and told everyone to clear out after. You can hear the officers on video saying they'll use less lethal ammunition and arrest anyone who doesn't go home immediately. A pretty scary sight for people that we spoke to. Earlier today, there was a lot more officers in this area. It seemed like they had a perimeter set up. They were even using drones to do surveillance in this area. Reporting live, Stephanie Valderrama, CBS 12 News.